I found out my math teacher was a witch. I wasn't exactly built for academics. At 13, most of my mental energy went into microwaving marshmallows without triggering a fire drill, or memorizing cheat codes for games older than my socks. School was mostly background noise, except for math class. I sat next to Todd, my lifelong co-conspirator who now insisted on being called Loco the Flashbanger. He wore 3 wristwatches, carried an emergency kazoo, and once took notes using only emojis. Life was definitely weird, but weird is where I thrive. It all began the day Mrs. Lemick solved an impossible equation without touching the chalk. The symbols danced onto the board like they had a life of their own, and Todd whispered, "Either that's wizard-level chalk or we're living inside a fantasy novel." I laughed it off, until she casually levitated a ruler while muttering about quadratic functions. Todd started bringing binoculars to class. We began tracking her movements like she was a rare cryptid. We knew something was up. One Friday, when the hallway lights flickered just a little too ominously, Todd convinced me to sneak into her classroom during lunch. Beneath the calculator drawer, we found a hidden staircase leading into the unknown, spiraling downward like it belonged in a haunted observatory. At the bottom was her true domain, glowing spellbooks disguised as geometry manuals, floating candles, and a bubbling cauldron that smelled like cinnamon and unsettling ambition. Mrs. Lemick was nowhere in sight. So naturally, Todd whispered, "Now or never," and opened the biggest book on the desk. The pages didn't flip, they roared. Glyphs lifted off the paper in tendrils of green light. The room began to pulse. Todd grabbed a pencil case that whispered Latin in Morse code. I wanted to bail. He wanted to poke the cauldron. That's when the room snapped cold. Mrs. Lemick appeared in a gust of glittering wind, hovering 2 inches above the ground, her eyes glowing like nuclear emeralds. "Mr. Tyndall," she said slowly. "And Loco the Flashbanger." Her voice dripped with cosmic judgment. "I always knew your chaos would bring you here." Todd tried to bow but accidentally activated a glow stick with his elbow. She floated closer. "You've cracked the seal of my sacred curriculum. Touched the forbidden erasers. Summoned the chalk spirits unprepared. The consequences," she raised her glowing protractor, "will be legendary." We ran. The spellbook screamed. The pencil case bit Todd. Rulers flew at our heads. The staircase tried to collapse mid-sprint. We burst back into the school just as the bell rang, pretending nothing had happened, pretending geometry was still normal. But Mrs. Lemick just smirked at us in class, handing